How's it going, guys? Episode 25, back with OKnowsSports. We got a special guest on today. We're talking a little Premier League. We got Brandon on with Global Football Files. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good.
Good. Love to hear that, man. We're obviously getting into the swing of things with the Premier League. And those of you that don't know, I played club soccer at High Point with Brandon. He's a class goalie, and he knows a hell of a lot about the Premier League. So we're psyched to have him on and talk a little bit about the transfer window and our predictions for this coming year. And obviously, he's got his Liverpool kit on. I knew he would. Man, what a splash they've made early on, huh?
Yeah, definitely made a big splash so far in the window. And from in my opinion, I don't think it's done. I still think there's a few pieces that they need to make, a few moves they need to make. And so kind of gonna be another few busy weeks ahead.
Yeah, 100%. And obviously, for those of you that don't know, they've spent over 300 million in this transfer window already, which is leading all teams by over. The second place is Chelsea with 240. But on top of what they're doing, and they've already done, they're looking at Alexander Isak from Newcastle. Brandon thinks they're going to get him. Hey, give me your take on this and why you think he's still coming in even after they spent 300 mil this transfer window.
So it looks like it's going to happen. He's on his own. He's back in Sociedad in Spain, training on his own. Not didn't go to camp with Newcastle on any of their tours. Liverpool just offloaded Luis Diaz for 70 million to Bayern Munich.
Saw that.
I mean
Yep.
that's a
Was that
big money
yesterday
move.
or today?
It was yesterday or a couple
Yep.
days ago.
Either way, huge move.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for a 28-year-old with 2 years left on his contract, 70 million on him. It's a big sign or a big sale. They need a new striker. They still need to get some pieces offloaded. Darwin Núñez, Chiesa as well, but those two guys need to end up going. And honestly, and I'm not even really that worried about needing a new left winger. I mean, we got Gakpo there. Ekatike, one of the guys we just brought in, he can play on the left wing. Soboslai can play just kind of bit everywhere between the
Yeah,
midfield and
he's
front
everywhere.
line.
Yep.
Verts can even play on that left wing, just brought in. I mean, there's a lot of moving pieces. And one kid that I've fallen in love with, left winger, Rio Engamoa. He's 16, got him from Chelsea last year. He's the future. He is a real deal. He looks so comfortable, so confident. Seen all the senior guys look to love him, welcome him in. He scored it the other day. I think he's
I
got two
saw
or three
that.
goals in this preseason
Yep.
already. So I think he's going to get some minutes. But yeah, I think Isak is going to be that next big move. And then I think Liverpool are then going to go after a center back.
Yeah, that would be huge. And Isak would be well over 100 million, I'm sure. I mean, obviously the Saudi packages have nothing to do with the Premier League rates that they're running, basically. But the Saudi deal was ridiculous that he got offered, and he denied that one right away. Kind of wanted to preserve his career. He wasn't ready to kind of give up on it, like a lot of the guys are, like Benzema and Neymar, and some of the other that have kind of just taken the option of the money route rather than staying playing at the best league in professional soccer. So I'm hoping for your sake, Isak finds a way to Liverpool. I'm hoping for my sake as an Everton fan, he doesn't. But let's be fair, I don't think they have much of a fighting chance against Liverpool this season.
Yeah, and I mean one of the things too, which I actually just saw today, Arne Slot did manage Alexander Isak previously when
Oh wow.
both of them were in the Netherlands playing for Willem II. I think Ishak was only 19 or 20 at the time. So
Okay.
there's already that similarity and chemistry there. Already knows him. So I think that is going to come into it as well.
Yeah, that definitely could. That's a good nugget. Okay, so obviously we covered Liverpool a little bit, but I want to break down a little bit of this 2025-2026 season. Obviously, we'll talk through all the transfers that have came with each of the teams, but I want to start with the top four in the Champions League spots. And for those of you that don't know much about the Premier League, Brandon and I will try to break down what it looks like. So first things first, if you get top four in the Premier League, you get entered into what's called the Champions League, which is basically the best clubs in the world. They compete. The best five leagues in Europe. They compete in this tournament. That's the entire season long, and you only make it if you are in the top four in the Premier League. So it's really an interesting thing that's unlike any other sport, and it's pretty cool because each team fights. the whole season, not just to win the tournament or the trophy at the end of the year, but also to get second, third, and fourth. So without further ado, Brandon, who do you think is going to make it to the Champions League next year? Who's your top four?
So my top four, I'm gonna start with four. I've got Chelsea. My
Okay.
top four was actually pretty easy to pick in terms of who the four are. Places are a little difficult, but I got Chelsea at four, spending 243 million,
Yep.
doing what Chelsea does best, and that's spend money. Uh, they have, another squad of 50 plus guys, it seems like. Bringing in Jamie Bino Gittins from Dortmund for 65. João Pedro from Brighton, Liam Delap. Esteval from Palmeiras, that's 35 million from Brazilian League. A lot of money spent. They're coming off of a huge high Club World Cup win, beating PSG. I think that's going to really push them. I think maybe these first few weeks they might struggle a little bit. Just long season, long summer. They might have a little bit of a slow start, but I think just the depth of the squad and the momentum that they're carrying, the quality guys like Cole Palmer, Levi Colwill in the back, they're good. It's a good side. I haven't said it much about Chelsea in the last few years, but they're really starting to develop and mature. So I got Chelsea at four. I got City at three. I really think Holland and Marmoush are just going to score goals for fun this year. I worry about some of the spacing defensively and some of that
Yep.
leadership roles. It seems like they're kind of clueless in what to do in the back. They've just spent, I don't even know, I think it was 35 million on James Trafford from Burnley. I like him as a goalie. He's young. He's going back to Man City where he first came from before he went to Burnley. They only conceded like 18 goals in the championship last year. It was an incredible defensive record, but going from Burnley in the championship with Man City, it's a huge jump. And then you got
Yep.
Ederson, who's really starting to struggle and stay healthy. But I got City third. Did have City above Arsenal, but I've got Arsenal at two now. They've won ahead. They splashed the cash on Victor Gyökeres. That was their huge struggle. Is that depth in the front, and it looks like they're really starting to develop it. You got Waneri that can back up Saka. You've got Gyökeres now up top. Gabby Jesus is coming back. He'll be back healthy. Kai Havertz can play up top. He can play back in the midfield. Like I know
Yep.
Arteta likes to keep Havertz there. And then that left wing, I know they're still looking around for some new left wingers. They've got Martinelli. Trossard looks like he's on his way out. But, I still think that they're going to score a little bit more goals than they did last year. The defense, you don't have to question it. They're solid. Saliba, Gabriel, Lewis Skelly, those
They're
guys are
amazing.
good. Yeah, so I'm not really worried about them. But I do have Liverpool again walking out as champions back to back. Definitely some biasy there. I'm not going to
I would have
say
put a
that.
lot of money on that. Yeah.
Not gonna deny the fact there's definitely some bias, but spending 125 million on Verts and possibly bringing in Ishak, and then you already have the Player of the Year in Salah, who just won Golden Boot and the most assists at 32. I mean, he's not slowing down. You've just got so much attacking prowess. You got McAllister, who I think is unbelievably underrated in the
Yep.
midfield. He looks so good, and you can't deny the fact you've got Van Dijk back there. I mean, one of the best center backs I've ever seen play. Um,
Yep.
they've retooled where they were weak. They look to continue to strengthen up in this window, and I think they're just going to be a little bit too strong. And I think they're going to really use the passing of Diogo Jota to really motivate them and push them this year to win some silverware.
Okay. I like that. I think you make good points there. I have the same top four, and I think, like you just said in the start, it's pretty easy. The four teams, in my opinion, and your opinion, I think those will be the teams that wind up going to the Champions League. I also have Chelsea at four. I think they're amazing, and their new signings, as you touched on, are great. I just don't think they'll break into the top three. I think Arsenal, City, and Liverpool are on a little bit different of a tier, but I think Chelsea, maybe in the next 2 or 3 years, could enter that tier with the depth of the squad that they have. I actually have Arsenal third. I was in between kind of this. The top three is tough, man. It's especially with the moves that they've made. I have Arsenal third. Obviously, Gyökeres, it's tough to pronounce, but 58 goals last season. I don't care what league you play in. 58 goals is 58 goals. That's incredible. And he's like for those of you that don't know, he's similar to when Holland came to Man City. He's a very large nine that plays just a very big and physical game, and he scores all the time from everywhere. He's just a tank, and he's going to be good for Arsenal. He'll probably score 15 or 20 goals in his first season. Um, I knew you were going to pick Liverpool, so I put Liverpool at second. But I think personally, I think it's going to be a two-horse race, and this is a little bit of a bold take. But I think Liverpool and City will finish over 90 points, and I think Arsenal and Chelsea will have closer to the low 80s range, like 82, 83, 84. And I only am choosing City because of one player that I think, in my opinion, was the number one signing based on how much they paid for him, and that's Churchy. He is incredible. I think he's going to walk in and have 10 to 15 assists immediately playing behind at the 10 behind Marmoush and Holland. Um, he's young and he's extremely technical and gifted. So I think City's going to ultimately win the league, but it's going to be a very, very close race with them and Liverpool. I'm a little worried about City's defensive depth, but I think the signings that they've signed some unique players that were not really expected. I'm blanking on the kid's name. The $40 million signing they made from the Dutch league, the Netherlands league. Who am I thinking of? He plays the center mid. Hold on, I'll check my notes.
Johnny Reinders
Uh,
from
yes,
Milan. He
yes,
came from Milan.
yeah, or Milan. Sorry, he's a Dutch kid,
He's
but
Dutch.
he's
He
from
is
Milan.
Dutch.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think he's a class signing as well. They're getting healthier. Obviously, they lost De Bruyne. He was a little bit slowing down, but they're getting healthier as well. So either way, I think that's going to be the top four, and it's going to be an incredible season. I think it's awesome how the depth of the top four. Like, truthfully, if Chelsea goes out and doesn't have a slow start, like you're talking about, they could easily find their way into the mix for a title race.
Yeah. I mean, even last year they were right
Yeah,
around New Year. They were in that title race, and then they had a
yeah,
bad festive fixture season, and they kind of fell off. And then Arsenal were right there with Liverpool, and then
yeah.
they had a few bad games, and Liverpool just didn't look back, and they just really
Yeah,
separated
Liverpool did not.
themselves.
Yeah, they did not look back one bit. Well, let's talk. Obviously, it's important to talk about the best teams in the world because everyone knows about them. But I like to kind of touch on the low hanging fruit and kind of the lower level teams too. I always like doing that in the college basketball world, and I love doing it in any sport. So, explain a little bit what relegation is, Brandon, for the viewers that don't love or watch a ton of Premier League soccer, because once again, it's unlike any league in the world as far as like the NFL or the NBA or the MLB. There's nothing like relegation. So, explain it a little bit to the viewers.
Yeah, so pretty much the way relegation works is that the bottom three teams every year will drop down to the league below, and your best three teams will get promoted. And this works all throughout England and pretty much all throughout Europe. So England has a 10 league system. It's called the football pyramid, and you can have a team all the way at the 10th division, take them all the way to the Premier League if you got enough money and willpower. So pretty much, if you're MLB fan, your Colorado Rockies and your Oakland Athletics, Chicago White Sox, they won't be
Yep.
around the MLB very long. So that's kind of how relegation works, and it's very makes it very intriguing. It makes it worthwhile. Your team's at the bottom. Every game still matters. You're not sitting there seeing a team that just is doing awful, having a bad year, and it's just, let's hang up the effort and just kind of coast to
Yep.
the end and hope for a good draft pick. That doesn't exist. You have to stay in the Premier League. The Premier League money is unbelievable. It's over 100 million just for being in the Premier League. So you want to stay. All the revenue, the TV money, all of that, it just means so much. And it is big as well. It's coming to the US, not MLS. MLS has refused time and time again to bring this in.
Saw
USL
that.
is bringing it in, so promotion relegation is coming to the US, and I really think if the USL commits to it, the USL will take over the MLS. So if you're
Yep.
looking to get in soccer, you're looking promotion relegation stuff, find your local USL team because at any point they might be, up there playing some of these bigger clubs in these preseason tournaments.
100%. Yeah. And just to touch on the relegation and every game mattering, I can tell you this as an Everton fan, it is true that the relegation battle, you still tune into every game because, like Brandon said, if you get relegated to the championship, which is technically the second division in England, the money that comes in to your side is literally pennies on the dollar of what you would get paid if you're a Premier League team. So oftentimes what will happen is a team gets relegated and most of their top players will leave, especially their good young players. On the flip side, when teams get promoted, they bring in players from all facets of the world and they bring in young talent, they bring in old talent. For example, Sunderland, who's getting promoted from the second league, the championship, up to the Premier League this year, they've spent 105 million in this transfer window, which is the most out of any of the teams promoted. They spent 100 million and they were in the second league last year. So it's a really cool system. And I think, like Brandon said, it makes for the entire season matters. If you're the 16th team and you're two teams away from being relegated, you care about that next match, even if it's against a team like Manchester City or Liverpool and scaping away a point somehow. So, Brandon, I want you to share your three teams that you think will ultimately be dropped down, or even you can give four if you think one team's going to be in the mix there, and share who you think is going to fall down this coming season.
So I kind of I've got serious concerns about Burnley. I mean, I know I
Mm-hmm.
kind of looking at their record from last year, giving up 18 goals in 48 games. Like it looks incredible. They just lost James Trafford. They lost C.J. Aiken-Riley as well to Marseille. And they didn't even get money for him. They just haven't really spent any money on big time signings. I mean, I'm looking right now. They brought in Chuana from Lazio. They brought in Marcus Edwards from Sporting, Jaden Anthony, you know, Jakob Brun Larson. Like they're just not Premier League signings.
No,
Um,
no, not at
they're
all.
not Premier League signings. And I even have Scott Parker, their manager. I have him the first manager to get sacked. I mean, he failed Premier League level managing Fulham. I'm not confident at all in this Burnley side. I have them rock bottom. I think it's going to be a really tough year. Other than that, I've got four teams battling to survive from those last
Okay.
two spots. I've got Sunderland in there. I know they
Yep.
spent 130 million. They brought in Xhaka, Arsenal signing Premier League experience. They brought in Ronaldo from Atletico Madrid, defender
I saw
experience.
that big move.
But they've also got in a lot of young players. My concern is a lot of those young players are African. Simon Odingra, Hamada Diarra, Siddiqui. This year is the African Cup of Nations. For those that don't know what African Cup of Nations is, pretty much every continent has a tournament, international tournament throughout the year at some point every couple years. The U.S. just finished theirs, the Gold Cup. The Euros happened last year, 2 years ago.
Yep.
The African Cup of Nations happens during the winter in the middle of a Premier League season. That's just when the African calendar falls. So these guys will be gone. And then you look at the rest of their team, it's just not a lot of quality. Yes, you're not trying to compete for a title where every single point is really important. If you lose 3 points, you might be out of the title race. But at the same time, that could be 2 months. Someone like Simon and
Yep.
Dinger with Ivory Coast, that could be 2 months he's gone. And I just don't see where the goals are coming from. And defensively, I worry. I mean, they're relying on Ronaldo, who's 31, Luca 9, who was playing at Wickham in a League One 2 years ago. He's 32. Um, you know, they just don't have a lot back there in the defense, and we saw it with Southampton last year. If you just leak goals,
You
it's
get
rough.
smoked. Yep.
It's rough.
And one piece that I wanted to add to Sunderland, because that's an incredible point about the African Nations Cup. I didn't even honestly think about that. And that's why I'm having you on, because you have a depth of knowledge that's amazing. But they lost their core of their midfield. Obviously Job's gone, but they also lost Wilson, who was, I mean, he was not as good as Job, but he was right in the mix there. And that's their two pivots in the midfield. So obviously they spent 130 million, like you said, but it's tough to replace your guys that you've trained with for years and have been the pivots on the midfield for the last multiple seasons that they've been promoted back years almost. I think 2 of the last 3 years they've been promoted.
Yeah. I do have one of the teams I have fighting, but I have them staying up. Leeds. Every year, their
Yep.
bottom three teams,
You've got
especially
them staying
recently,
up.
I got them staying up.
Love
I
it.
got them
Love it.
staying
Okay.
up. I've liked their moves. They scored goals. The one thing that really separates teams from staying up and dropping is, these teams they're gonna give up goals. They're gonna give up goals a lot.
Yep.
They're gonna get killed some games, but they scored a lot of goals last year, and they've they've solidified their defense. They've got brought in Anton Stock from Hoffenheim in the midfield to give some depth in there. Brought in center backs. Brought in a left back. Brought in a goalie. I mean, they've got the depth they're bringing in. So it'll be interesting to see. I do think they're going to just survive. I got two teams actually kind of having a bit of a fall off because of sales. So the team I have dropping down with Sunderland and Burnley is Wolves.
Okay.
Bit of a
Add
shock,
them down
I
there.
know,
Yep.
but losing Cunha and losing Ait Nori, that's their two pieces. That is their two huge pieces for that team and how they operated in the last couple of years, and they have not replaced them. I mean, you're bringing in Jurgen Strand Larson. He was on loan there last year. I like him. I think he's a Premier League center forward, but he's not enough to solely keep the team up. They brought in John Arias from Fluminense, who did well at the Club World Cup, but again, it's two pieces. They just don't have a lot up front. Bringing in Fair Lopez as well, can play in the midfield, can play at the 10, can play on the wing. Just again, not fantastic, not a lot there.
Yeah.
And just defensively, they've done no bolstering of the defense. Jose Sa is not a great goalie. I'm sure they're going to look to, utilize Hugo Bueno and Keanu Hoover, who were on loan last year. They might look to utilize them again, but there's just not a lot there, and I think they're really going to struggle without Cunha and without Ait Nori. Those two last year in some of those
And
games in relegation.
didn't they already score the least amount of goals aside from Southampton? I thought they were either second or third
They
least in the
they
whole
were
Prem.
they were way down there. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
Leicester
and
may have
Cunha
been
had
there.
15 of them.
Yeah,
So literally they're losing probably 80% or 70% of their goals. Yeah,
yeah.
Leicester
I
was
mean,
down there and obviously Southampton was down there. They scored like 8. So,
yeah,
but yeah,
yeah.
I agree with that. Who are the other
And
teams you
then
got down there next to Wolves?
I have Leeds right above them at sitting at 17, and then I also have Brentford. Um,
Okay.
losing Thomas Frank. I love Thomas Frank. I'm really upset Tottenham got him. Um, I love him
Yeah,
so
he's going to
much
be
as a
good.
manager and a person. He's such a good person. But then not even just that, you're losing Christian Norgard. He's gone to Arsenal. Brian Mbeumo's gone to United. Jan
Yep.
Wissa looks like he's going to end up going to Newcastle to possibly help
Yep.
replace Ishak. So you're losing all your goals up front between Mbeumo and Wissa. You're losing your manager, and just there hasn't been a
And
lot
you're
of
starting
movement
8,
there.
yeah, with
Yeah, you're
Norgard, yeah.
starting eight, and there just hasn't been a lot of movement in the transfer window from them. I expect money to be moved soon. I mean, they've got a huge plus side on the net spend. I mean, they're 40 million in the green right now. They've not really spent that
And they
impairment
need to make a
money.
move.
They need to make a move. They've brought in Kelleher, who is a huge upgrade
Yep.
on
He's
Mark
class.
Flecken. They've made the Coyote signing permanent. He didn't play a lot last year, but he was injured. I like him a lot. They brought in Antonio Malimbo, who, from what I've seen, has got a lot of promise. Brentford, it kind of looks like they're working towards that Brighton plan of buying young, developing, and
Yep.
selling them off. But they really need a new striker or two. So if they can go ahead, they can make some moves this last month. I definitely could see them surviving, but as the squad currently stands, I am concerned about it. Their manager's also never managed in the Premier League. He was assistant to Thomas Frank. I don't know how well he's going to adjust to being the head.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see, but I hope they stay up. I like the team. I like kind of their philosophy as a club, but I really see them struggling this year.
Yeah, I like that. I've got one more to add to that relegation pile. Obviously, I have the 3 that are coming up, potentially on the way down, but I've got one that I thought you were gonna say that this is one of my bold predictions, is Nottingham Forest. Obviously, they made it to Europe last season, and had an incredible year, but they have no goals coming in. They're losing Gibbs White, they're losing Alonga, and that is kind of their heart of their attack, and the 2 that really generated the most, I would say, creativity in their attack as well. So I think they're going to be very flat, and they may struggle because they really haven't brought a ton of new pieces in, to substitute in for those guys. And I think it's one of those things where they may be like oh, we're totally fine because we made Europe last season. But the Premier League's the best league in the world, and every single team in there is fighting for the same goal. And I think they may have gotten a little complacent with the lack of moves that they've done. And I could see them down in the 15, 16, maybe even sneak into the 17 spot because I just don't see where their goals are coming from. Like I really don't. The truth is they have two nines in I forget how to pronounce the big nine's name. You know who I'm
Awonyi.
talking about?
Yeah,
Yes.
Taiwo Awonyi.
Yeah, and then obviously Chris Wood, but they rely on service in, and Alanga and Gibbs White were the two creative tens, and they played wingers as well. That would create that service and generate the chances for them. I just don't see who's going to do that this year. So that's my bold prediction. I think personally they have a chance of heading down, and I hope they don't because I enjoy watching Nottingham, and they have a very cool ground as well. Their home field is pretty sweet, and they have a good atmosphere. So hoping they don't go down, but I could see them falling, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, with that, I know that today, really just kind of middle of the day, a few hours ago, did confirm the signing of Dan Ndoye from Bologna.
Okay.
I like him a lot, Swiss international. And with the Gibbs White thing, it's such a
Yeah, it's up
saga.
in the
It's
air.
such a saga.
Yeah.
It's Does he actually sign a new contract or is he going to Spurs? It's such a mess and what all is really going on. So where their heads are at there and how these guys deal with playing in Europe. It's a very
Yep.
difficult grind, especially because they're going to be in Conference League or Europa League either way. They're going to be having those trips over to
Oh yeah.
Czechia and to Estonia and those kind of random Eastern European countries. Those are long, long trips and really going to take a toll out of you when you're going there on a Thursday and having to come back play on a Sunday.
Yeah, and especially if you don't have depth, and they did have a good bit of depth last season, to be honest, and that's why they could do what they did. I mean, at one point they were fighting for the top four, but I don't know. I have a bit of a sour taste for them this year, and I may be completely wrong, but that's my bold take. That's what bold takes are for. But I want to talk a little bit too quickly about the 5, 6, 7 spot, still Europe, just not the Champions League. So for those of you once again that don't know, it's a little confusing to keep track. There's a lot of different things in the Premier League that are unlike any other American sports league. Um, so the fifth and sixth team will go to the Europa League, and then the seventh team will go to the Conference League. So who do you have in the 5, 6, and 7 spot? And I've got an interesting answer here as well, so I'm excited to hear yours.
So I actually do have a pretty shocking answer myself. Um, I kind of didn't like even process the fact that I did have them here until I really started doing a lot more research, and I just kind of kept them. But for seven for Conference League, I got Spurs. Uh, I
Okay.
think I think they're healthy. I think their main issue last year was that they were hurt a lot, and I liked Ange, but he also wasn't the best manager. They're bringing in Thomas Frank. I like him a lot, like I said before when I was talking about Brentford, and they've kind of rekindled some. They've got some.
Yep.
They're going to be healthy again to start the year. So I think if they stay healthy,
They
they
signed
stick to a
Kudus as
plan.
well.
They sign Kudus. I really think that they're going to go ahead. They're going to shake it up a little bit. I got them seven because it is still Spurs and they're still very young and kind of missing some pieces. But I do have them back in the Europe, back at seven. My fifth and sixth, I've got Villa and Brighton. Um,
Wow.
I'm
No
really high
United.
on Brighton. I'm very high on Brighton right now. Some of these guys going into last year, before last year started, they grabbed one of the guys that I was really hoping Liverpool would sign to replace Nunez. Um, Greek striker Stefanos Simas. They got
He's
him in
good.
January and he was on loan last year for the rest of the year at Nuremberg. Played really well. He's come back. They also spent 35 million on Kostolis from Olympiacos, another Greek striker. So they're gonna have two Greek strikers that have played together before, and they're gonna continue playing together. I mean, they've brought in a lot of young guys. Again, they brought in Boshagli, who's got European experience from PSV. Bring in De Kuiper, again, European experience. They brought in Tom Watson, another young player from Sunderland, Kopolov, younger center back from Verona. What Brighton does is they sell and then they bring in and they just turn out new guys from nowhere. and I really
Yep.
think they're going to do that again. I mean, when I look at their squad, they've got some young guys. I think those two Greek kids are going to do really, really well this year, along with Tom Watson who came from Sunderland, left winger, 19. Yeah, I really think that this team's going to be decent. I would like them to go get a new keeper. Not particularly half of their keeper situation, but at the same time, I really think they're going to string things together. I like Fabian Hertzler. I like him a lot. So I do have Brighton up there at 6. I've got Villa at 5. They've got those pieces. Ollie Watkins, he's going to get you goals. There's no denying that. So I've got Villa up there. They haven't really done anything. They've just kind of been sitting
No, they
passive.
have not.
They've just been sitting passive. But I think they're going to splash a little bit of cash before the window's over. I know that Unai Emery likes to work late, so I think he'll make some moves late, and it is Unai Emery. You can't deny he's such a
Yep.
good manager. So I think he'll string things together at the end.
Okay. I like that. And I like that we have a little bit of parity here because I've got a completely different 3. And I have Spurs at 5. And I literally only say that because of the new manager. And bringing in Frank is like you said, he's a terrific boss and he's a great manager. And I think last year was a bit of a fluke. They kind of were they were hurt the entire year. Eric Dyer stepped in and was their starting center back for literally like 20 games. I just think they're going to come back. They're fully healthy. Um, sixth is I think they're either going to come in 6th or 8th. If Isak stays, I think Newcastle will slide into the 6th or 7th spot. If he does not, I think they will be in the 8, 9, or 10 spot, closer to the mid-table. So that's kind of an asterisk there. I think United will be in the 6 or 7 spot. Unfortunately, I don't really like United. I don't like rooting for them, and I hate United fans. They annoy me a lot. So it's tough for me to put them in Europe. But you can't deny they've made 2 brilliant signings. We've talked about them already. Um, 2 guys that have legit Premier League experience and have both scored 15 plus goals in the Premier League. So they're not just signing some project out of like Uganda. Like they're signing legit players. Cunha scored. I was watching the other day and I watched the top 25 goals in the Premier League. I don't know if you've seen that video on yet. For anyone who hasn't on YouTube, you should watch that immediately after this. I think Cunha was 5 of the top 25. That doesn't mean he's the greatest 9 in the world, but that's pretty ridiculous. Like he had 5 of the greatest goals of the whole season. He's completely class. So is Mbebu. It's just they're going to be great together. And while I don't think they have all the pieces figured out by any means, I think they're a better side than people give them credit for, and I see them being in the 7 spot, especially if Newcastle gets rid of Isak and pulls in Wissa and thinks that he can supplement what Isak can do because he can't.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I do have Newcastle sitting at 10 because I do think Ishak's going.
Yes. Yeah.
So, I kind of made some of my predictions and placements based on what I think will happen in the rest of this window.
Agreed. And if he
So
moves,
so
that's a
I
huge
It's a
downgrade for
huge
them.
loss. I know they're going to look into bring in Wisa if that happens, and somebody else, I'm sure. And I mean, that's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars that they're going to be able to spend, but
Yeah.
there's just not much there. If they lose Ishak.
So I got a question for you. Aside from the table, who do you see as your player of the year, and who do you see winning the Golden Boot in the Prem this year?
So my golden boot, I've got Holland. I mean,
Yep,
he's just going to score. He's going to score like crazy. You mean we've talked about Marmoush, we talked about Cherokee. They're going to supply him goals. It's Man City, it's Pep Guardiola. They're going to score. And the main reason I'm not going for someone like a Salah or an Ishak is because if they're together, they're both going to get goals, but it's going to be spread. I mean, Salah scored, almost broke so many, well, he broke so many records last year, but almost broke even more because it was him. It was all him.
yep,
I mean, he had to get the most assists with Darwin Núñez, who can't hit the side of a barn with a beach ball. I mean, it's the type of players that Liverpool has brought in to help score goals, I think is going to really take some of the contributions away from Salah. but
Agreed.
it's still going to help him shine because you can't double triple team him. If you double triple team him,
Yeah,
you're going to have Frimpong or Connor Bradley just putting in crosses to Ishak. Verts is just going to find pockets of space to just pick apart. It's going to be a very dynamic thing, which I think will free Salah up some more. But it'll be really interesting. And again, African Cup of Nations, Salah's going to be gone for possibly 2 months with Egypt, so that all comes into effect. My player of the season, though, with Liverpool winning the league, I do have Verts. Coming in, I think he's going to live up to the price tag, be a
really?
successful
Okay.
signing. I mean, it's a lot of money for a 22, 23-year-old, but he's looked so good in preseason for what I've seen. He seems like he's gelling. He's got Frimpong, who, yeah, he's a right back slash right winger, but played together already, and I think the touches he's looked really good, and I really think you're going to have a very standout performance season from him. But yeah, I've got Verts as my player of the season, Holland as my top scorer, and I think Hans, if he stays healthy, is going to kind of run away with it.
Okay. Yeah, and I guess I have a little ball knowledge myself because I've got same as you. I've got Verts as Player of the Year, and I've got Holland as Golden Boot. I think Holland's going to score 30 goals this season. I think Churchy or Cherky, it's tough to pronounce a lot of these names. I might be butchering some of them, so I apologize if I am. But he's so class, and I think Holland will score 30 goals this season. But I agree. Uh, I think Verts is going to have 15 and 15. I don't think he's going to have as good of a year as De Bruyne did. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago now when they won what year was that? When they won the league and he had 15 and 20.
Yeah,
One of the greatest seasons I've ever seen in my life. I don't think he'll have that, but I could easily see Vert slipping into like a 13 and 15 or 13 and 13, and that will win you Player of the Year if you win the league. So I wouldn't be shocked to see that. I think especially if they get Isak, he'll be well within 15, right around the 15 assist mark, which is just so impressive considering how tough it is to compete in the Premier League as a 22-year-old. But I agree. I think although they paid a ridiculous amount for him. There's few players in the world that are worth that price, and he's in the mix for that. So I would have those as my two Player of the Year and Golden Boot. And then last piece that I want to touch on. This has been great having you on, but is one bold prediction that you haven't shared. So obviously, I I shared my Nottingham Forest, and you shared your Brighton prediction. So one that we haven't shared that you want to touch on.
so one thing I've got Everton up kind of comfortably safe this year. For the
Okay,
last several years I've had them to
love
go
that.
down, and for some reason
David
just
Moyes.
something is just giving me the feeling that they're going to kind of comfortably stay up. I do have them at 14. I think got teams above them, Fulham, Palace, Bournemouth. I think they got a little too much quality compared to Everton. But when I compare them to West Ham, Brentford, Leeds, Wolves, Sunderland, Burnley, I think Everton's kind of on their own. I think we're going to kind of see where that middle of the table is kind of grouped up again, and then there's just going to be kind of Everton and West Ham together, and then nice little gap before the bottom five.
Yeah, well, I like that. I like the sound of that. I'd like to see them in the mid-table range, like 10 to 11. The fact that they were able to re-sign Brantwaite is incredible because the truth is he's probably an $80 million center back, especially with the England nationality. And that back three with Tarkovsky, Pickford, and Brantwaite is the only thing that kept them up last season. And David Moyes running the ship. They're a unique team, so I would like to see them make at least one or two more moves. They simply don't have any depth, and their situation with Barry and Beto, they're the same exact player. They both have very little technical ability and a lot of physical ability. So hopefully they can find a way to score a few goals, but obviously that was our issue last season.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm excited for it, but um, all right, I'll give my bold prediction here. Just ending it. I think I talked about it a little bit earlier, but I think Marmouche is going to have a either 10 and 15 or 15 and 10 season. He stepped in and was class immediately for City last season, but I think in his second year, it's kind of going to be no more jitters, no more nervousness. He's clearly good enough to play in this league. With the dominance of Holland, it takes when you play a team like Arsenal or Liverpool, some of the top table teams, they literally focus their entire game plan around Holland. So it lets off a little bit of the slack as well as Churchy coming in. So yeah, my bold prediction is Marmoush has either 10 and 15 or 15 and 10, talking goals and assists or assists and goals. So we'll see what happens. But overall, I'm really excited for the season. Clearly, Brandon in as well. Brandon is as well. It's pretty insane the parity in this league, and that's the reason it's the best soccer league in the world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited for it. I'm ready to get going. Community Shield's only 2 weeks away, and leagues Liverpool kicks off on 14th, I believe it is, that Friday,
Yeah.
first game of the
Yep.
season.
Yeah, I know I'll be tuned in at work, so I'm sure you will be too.
Yeah,
Well, that's awesome, man, and I'm glad I had you on, man. It's always great catching up, and it's great picking your brain about this kind of stuff. We'll definitely have you on mid-season to see how stupid or how smart we are talking Premier League. But best of luck to Liverpool, and great having you on, man.
yeah. Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it, and yeah, let's come back mid-season and see how little we actually ended up now.
Yeah, seriously. All right, well, I appreciate it, man.